it is this, I didn't plan to do this. I mean, somebody turned my life around, and it was all through relationships. That's why I always say it's relationships that change people, not programs. Somebody has to be willing to walk through the valley of the shadow of adolescence with kids and love them into change. If you can't use the word love, then you're not going to have any change. A good program simply has created the environment where healthy relationships are happening between adults and children. So I've stayed very focused on just loving kids.
In a moment, you're going to hear from CIS staff and CIS AmeriCorps about their favorite moments from this year and the impact they had on kids, as well as why they believe in CIS. And you're going to hear this from a great group of people. They have a lot of strengths. We have a lot of, come from a lot of different backgrounds. We've worked in a lot of different settings. I think we hear agencies sometimes talk about strength and diversity, and I would add that we have diversity in our strengths, and we really rely on each other's strengths so that we can serve students as best as we can as a team. The group has really had to be flexible this year. We're working in the ever-changing landscape that's New Orleans public schools, and I think we've done a good job keeping.
Okay. So Michael and I worked at Batiste this year, and although we had different classrooms and different age groups of students, we had a few shared experiences. One of which was being a role model for young men in the XY zone. Michael?
We worked with different age groups. My kids are a little bit younger than Zeke's, but we both found that we had the ability to connect with them in kind of a special way. There are not a lot of male role models, I guess, in that environment, and so having kind of young guys like us that could relate to them, that was kind of cool.
Well, I'm really lucky to work with national programs that allow us to put tools into the hands of the site coordinators to help better serve their students. Some of the programs that we work with are AmeriCorps, Children Incorporated, and Reading is Fundamental. These partnerships really contribute to our holistic approach in preventing students from dropping out.
Sometimes just smiling at the kids is a good thing. They don't get a lot of smiles.
It's true.
They get a lot of stand in line.
Mm-hmm. One student that was actually an 8th grader that was put up for expulsion twice, and nobody thought she would graduate 8th grade this year, and we got her through somehow. She, the 4th quarter, turned around. She spent most of the 4th quarter in my office, which was a good thing, and it was nice to see her graduate with the rest of her class and go to high school next year.
For Early Head Start through CIS is empowerment. Really raising consciousness about what the girls, as mothers and as citizens of New Orleans and as members of the community, can do with the power of their voice.
While I don't directly work with students, I feel that I have made a positive impact on them through my volunteer coordination. The students in the New Orleans public school system face many issues that our site coordinators have to deal with on a daily basis, and I think by bringing in volunteers, it makes the teachers and our site coordinators' jobs that much easier, and it also gives another role model for the students to have. It's really been inspiring to see volunteers come out from all over the city, from churches and businesses and the colleges that are eager to help our students. And I really have enjoyed connecting them to our schools so they can make that positive change in our students' lives.
It's cool to be one of the few males, especially in the younger grades. It's dominated. I was one of maybe 2 in K2, which was cool. Sadly, a lot of them lack a father figure, and yeah, especially for the males, I don't know, that's where I think I had the biggest impact, was being a positive male figure in their lives.
Just being a good role model is just something that you don't think about often, but it's
how, if they continue on with this type of negative behavior that they feel is already negative themselves, I mean, they wouldn't come to me with asking for help to do better if they didn't feel that way. If you continue on in this direction, this is what will happen. But I've seen people that change from that direction, and they became, even more successful. They went into the route that you want to go into. And I try to help them see. So from that point forward, I know there's quite a few students that have actually graduated. You know, they took it was a hard breakdown moment. Like, they had to actually break themselves down to kind of accept that they have to change. And once they changed, I had a few students actually graduate. You know, she went off to Delgado. I still try to keep track of her now. I had another student, he went ahead and graduated. You know, I mean, a few students passed GE as well, came running, Javelle, thank you so much, you know. So I'm like, oh, good, you know. So I mean, I think I've impacted them in a highly positive way, to where they see academics as, you know, not just a task, but something to assist them in everyday life, to help them advance.
Well, my favorite memory was a time where the teacher was in the class and we were all like in a reading circle, and I teach kindergarten. And he asked, "Who is your friend and why?" And when it got to this one particular student, India, she was like, "My friend is Mrs. Thornton because she helps me write my name." And I know that's so simple, but it felt
wonderful opportunity to take the girls to FINO, the Fashion Institute of New Orleans, and that was really exciting, just to kind of treat them to a day outside of the classroom, because they had worked so hard. It was right after testing, so I took them all to the Fashion Institute of New Orleans, and they were able to learn about modeling and fashion design and yeah, things like that. So it was just great to see them enjoy themselves and feel good about themselves. And
I love all the hugs. They're my favorite. Just the kids, even though they drive you crazy, they also make you laugh and
you get
smile.
A lot of hugs, and you get all kind of hugs.
One of my favorite moments with Science Reach in communities and schools was the rocket competition, because I felt like during the rocket competition was all three schools actually got to see each other, and they also got a chance to know what it means to compete healthy compete. So I think having just the different categories of shooting the rocket, building the rocket, designing the rocket, and doing the mathematics with the rocket was one of the best opportunities for me, just to see my students go out. And I didn't really have to help them out with anything, but they made up everything on their own, and they wanted to redesign their rocket like 3 or 4 different times, and it was great just seeing them excited about science.
It was right after test scores came in, just having, especially my 8th grade boys, just come in at different times saying that they passed. I had one kid come in and do his pass the leap dance for me, so that was just really exciting to see how proud of themselves that they were and that their hard work paid off.
It was the summer jamboree at Ben Mays Elementary. There was all kinds of crazy stuff going on. There was a moon bounce and a DJ and hula hooping and bubbles and all kinds of fun stuff. And I looked around at one point, and I was sitting at a picnic table, and there were 10 kids sitting with me, jumping on the table, dancing around, but all holding books, all trying to get me to hold them for them so they wouldn't get lost, or read them to me, or get me to read them to them. And I thought it was really exciting that that was the activity that these kids really wanted to do. It was overwhelming, but every time I look back on it now, I think how fun that really is at the end of the year these kids wanted to hang out with the person that brought books instead of the person that was running the moon bounce.
And another just that moved me was a student who, when he was asked what did he learn from CIS this year, and he very succinctly said, "I learned how to live." And I just don't know that we can top that.
It's kind of one of those big bang kind of moments, you know, when everything kind of aligns to come together, and something that is so needed comes to a place where it's so welcomed and appreciated, because every little gap is covered. The kids who aren't eligible for certain funding through school can be helped through Children's Inc. The certain kids who love books but can't afford books, and they have gotten into a little bit of trouble because they keep library books out too long, get to keep books because of RIF. And like, to hear books say, I get to keep this book, or hear kids say, I get to keep this book like forever, like it's mine forever, it's just exciting. Like the small things that sometimes adults take for granted, kids latch onto. And so to have made a place for these children where everything is considered, their clothing, their food, their education, their emotional well-being, is like all, the school has become like not just school, it's like the center of their
Having
universe.
multiple bodies in the classroom, the teacher can lead the class, build lesson plans, but you have a unique ability to form a personal relationship with every student. And you know them with great detail, you know what their home life is like, you know why they struggle in certain subjects, you know their favorite sports. So I think having that not only benefits the classroom as a whole, but on an individual level, every student knows that there's some place they can go and someone they can talk to with whatever is going on in their lives.
I'm able to provide the kids with some resources that they may not have otherwise had, such as health education. And as a part of that, as they learn things that they may not have learned at school or at home, it's allowing them to stay healthy, and as a part of staying healthy, they can stay in school longer, and they can possibly graduate.
At the beginning of the year, you'd ask a kid, like, what do you want to be when you get older? And they'd say, I want to work at McDonald's. And now they have a better idea of what their future can be and the options that they have, even though they're in kindergarten.
Kids and the parents, I think, have been able to learn about more resources in the community and ways that they can continue to build on their relationships as a family and with the school. So I think that's been a huge part that has been brought to our students and to the school this year.
I think for our school, CIS was really important this year by it being like a startup charter. We had a lot of growth this year that I think was really on our backs, and just like being able to be with students like on that one-on-one relationship has really helped them see themselves as better learners.
I don't know what this school would do without communities in schools, because one, it's a very small staff. There's only so much you can do with 20 people, and to have like this other resource of people and time and resources that can be used for our kids who are our babies, it's, I don't know, it's it makes me happy to be in education in a time where a lot of schools are closing and a lot of kids are not getting their needs met, and a lot of smart children who cannot learn in certain settings are falling through the cracks. And to have a group of people who, one, can understand education and understand social, emotional development, and come together and say, okay, so this is what we need to do, and be able to put it in a way to where not only educators and principals, but families can understand it. It's awe-inspiring, I guess, is what I'm looking for.
We work every day with 1.3 million students, 96% of whom are on free and reduced price lunch, and they are facing some of the worst obstacles you can imagine young people facing. So they deserve only the best set of interventions and the best set of prevention services. And it's our responsibility to continually figure out what that is, and that's what we're committed to.